Leaked. This is from the ethics report. Exclusive. Woman testified to the House Ethics Committee that Gates had sex with her when she was 17. Sources. Gates has repeatedly denied the claim. More on what the ethics gathered during its probe, as it remains unclear if a report will ever be released. Oh shit. It's leaking. It's leaking.
Republican government.
It's leaking. I mean, it was inevitable. It was inevitable that it was going to leak. When RFK was running for president, he said he would stop research on drug development and infectious diseases for 8 years.
NIH, my first week, I'm going to call all the division heads and I'm going to call all the bureau chiefs. And I'm going to say, we're going to give drug development and infectious disease a break, a little bit of a break for about 8 years. And we're going to study chronic disease. And I'm going to go to NIH.
Oh my God. Maybe the U.S. will have a bunch of brain drain in the health services. I think one of the wildest parts about this is that this is America cucking itself with its like endless support for, with its refusal to acknowledge any of the underlying material harm. We are bouldering towards like this fascist ANCAP dystopia, right? Anarcho-capitalist dystopia. And in that process, America's just like fucking itself over in the long term. Any country that has even a little bit of responsibility to governance is going to cook our shit, okay? Especially if you're a country that's like uniparty like China and they have like long-standing, you know, decades-long policies that they're implementing. Like these sorts of things are very important, very consequential for the future prospects of nations. America, on the other hand, is so short-term profit motive invested that they just can't see anything else, and we're basically actively destroying the country from within. This is why I used to always say like the Republican Party is the greatest threat, the greatest terroristic threat to America and perhaps the entire globe. Democrats are a close second, and that the likes of Osama bin Laden or any arch terrorist could never imagine the amount of damage that the Republican Party will do to the nation and also the world as a whole. And now we're there. We're literally there. It's so fucking wild.
With Elon Musk's.
Here is Trump's transition co-chair, Howard Lutnick, shocking, lying 2 weeks ago about RFK's potential job in the cabinet.
Ability to do Doge. He and I worked that out together and we structured that.
But would he actually come into the government? Because, I mean, he'd have to divest. It would be quite tricky.
He's not coming into the government. He can't sell SpaceX.
He's not going to
Tesla. No. So what is he's going to be adjacent to it. Think adjacent to it and writing software for the government and then giving the software to the government and helping the government. It's going to be amazing.
One other person who was on stage recently and was talking about coming into the administration is RFK Jr. He said that Trump has promised him control of the public health agencies, HHS, which would be also, you know, CDC, FDA, USDA, all of these agencies. Is that true? Has Trump promised him basically the HHS job?
So I spent 2.5 hours this week with Bobby Kennedy Jr. and it was the most.
Dude, the idea of Elon Musk writing software is so laughable. These people are so deluded. Like, what software has Elon Musk ever written, dude? What are you talking about? Jesus Christ. I don't even know if these guys believe it. Maybe they do. I guess people believe that shit. They think like he's a actual fucking engineer. People that say PayPal don't know that all of the fucking coding that he did for what came before PayPal, or all the software engineering that he did before PayPal, was so bunk and so bad that they had to rewrite everything And not only did they have to rewrite everything, like one of the primary functions of like online banking, it failed to do that. Okay. People could just like access your wallet. It was so bad that they had to push him out. It was so bad that they had to buy him out, dude.
Over a decade to see if there was in fact a link. Some of the studies actually showed that you were more likely to have autism if you were not vaccinated. But the point being that issues are raised, issues are studied, and yet they still keep coming up. And I think that's one of the big concerns. That's a metaphor, I think, for other things that people are concerned about with him.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, thanks so much. Let's bring in our panel and talk about it. Jamie Gamgeld, let me start with you. What are you hearing from your sources about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Being picked to be head of the Department of Health and Human Services?
Look, it's another example of you better take Donald Trump at his word.
Yeah, he's been saying this. It's not a surprise in terms of he likes Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Correct. And Senator John Thune, the new majority leader, has his hands full. He does not want to look at his phone again today. I mean, it was Matt Gaetz yesterday and now this. I think it's important, though, to now see how the Republicans in the Senate handled this. They cannot claim to have buyer's remorse. They were all in on this. One Republican source said to me, I'm not sure they will be able to reject all of them, meaning you have all of these controversial picks. It's not just one. And another senior Republican said to me, no one should be surprised. This is Donald Trump 2.0. It's a new kind of chaos, but Trump feels emboldened. He simply doesn't care about the rest of the party. It's all about him, and we're expected to be loyal. It's a one-way street.
Yeah, just to remind people, the head of the Department of Health and Human Services in the first term was a respected Republican member of the House, Dr. Tom Price, who was a physician.
Right.
Former Congressman Dent, I want to play something that RFK Jr., he was asked about his expertise. He is obviously, Kennedy, not a scientist. He is not a doctor. He does not have any degrees in this stuff. So Smirkanish, who has a show on CNN on Saturdays, asked him, well, what's your expertise? Take a listen.
Because I've spent a lot of time studying and writing books, right? And litigating these issues, I have a very detailed domain knowledge of these areas that make it very, very difficult to defend orthodoxies in a, because I know the areas so well. So yeah, it is almost, particularly on vaccines, it's almost impossible for anybody to interview me.
So he wrote a story for Salon.com and Rolling Stone magazine about vaccines back in 2003, 2004. Rolling Stone and Salon had to retract it. It's been disappeared from the Rolling Stone website because it was so false. Just because somebody writes something down doesn't make it true.
Well, it just seems like there's a war on expertise and science or experience. I mean, it's not just RFK Jr. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, the science of vaccines, I thought, was settled a long, long time ago, and we're having this debate. But, look at Matt Gaetz. What qualifies him to be head of the Justice Department?
At least he's a lawyer.
Okay.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying every day the standards get a little lower.
Hegseth at defense, again, good service, but this is no Richard Perry or Bob Gates or Jim Mattis. We expect people, with a lot of gravitas. And, Tulsi Gabbard, I'm a friend of Tulsi Gabbard's. But, there are going to be red flags about her relationships with Syria and Russia. And so it just seems like Trump is being awfully defiant. He doesn't care about expertise, or in this case, medical science. And so that's what's so troubling about this. And I suspect there are going to be a lot of pushback. And some of these nominations are going to have to be withdrawn.
I think in addition to the question of expertise, there's also the question of capability of running a larger organization. The Pentagon, HHS, the Justice Department. These are large, sprawling organizations.
18 intelligence agencies.
Arguably too large and too sprawling.
Sure.
But these are people who have not had experience in running these sorts of large organizations, and you do have to wonder whether they can do that. And you also have to wonder about the Senate and their own self-qualifications, because if you are not exercising your constitutional duty to provide advice and consent here, what is the point of your being in office?
All right, everyone stick around. We've got a lot more to talk about. We're going to have much more reaction to the breaking news. A source telling CNN that Trump is on the verge of officially nominating.
We're so fucking cooked. He did it. He did it. Do you think it's strategic? Like nominate a bunch of crazies just to make a few getting through seem like a compromise? Fuck no, dude. That's not, dude. The problem is you think these guys are doing 4D chess. This is something that a lot of people did back in the day as well. A lot of Trump supporters would do that. They'd be like, oh, when he wrote Covfefe, he was actually doing 5D chess. And the media also kind of went along with it as well. No, what you see is what you get. They're not playing chess. They're playing checkers, okay? It's a direct through line. There is no convoluted, complicated reasoning for why they're doing this, okay? He does not give a shit. I can't begin to explain this to you. He does not give a shit. These guys do not care. Like, he does not care. He does not want people that will defy him in any agency, okay? That's it. They want to pretend him and his followers are not extraordinarily incompetent. Is RFK Jr. a Soviet sleeper agent that just woke up 40 years too late? Huh, I wish. Like, there is no secret reasoning behind this. Okay, people are saying like, oh, well, maybe Matt Gaetz is a trial balloon. It's like, no, it's not. He just wants a person that is easily blackmailed and loyal to him in that position. And I'm willing to bet that the more shit comes out about Matt Gaetz, the more they'll push for it. I would be very surprised if like the media pressure and the public pressure on Matt Gaetz actually causes them to stand down. Because for Trump, it's about the backlash is important. Okay. It's about overcoming said backlash to show that he can do it. Okay. Do you understand? There is no fucking 5D chess happening here. Oh yeah. I saw this. This was a fantastic tweet. Exactly. Cognitive behavioral therapy enjoyer I just cut off in traffic. Think positively. He's probably in a rush for a reason. Maybe he's late for a job interview. Maybe his wife is giving birth. Me, I'm the king of the highway. That's it. So like when Ezra Klein says the Gaetz nomination is so off the wall that I half believe he's sacrificial, so Senate Republicans will give an easier time confirming all the other questionable picks, having shown their independence by icing Gaetz. No. There is no convoluted, complicated reason. What you see is what you get, okay? That's precisely what it is. I don't even think they give a shit. I don't even think they care about like, like, oh, what will we do? What if people won't allow us to put Matt Gaetz into that position? It's like, no, it's more so about like Trump pushing through regardless, okay? This is a man who already was president for 4 years. This is a man who tried to overturn the Democratic elections results in 2020, okay? He knows what not to do. And he's vindictive, he's malicious, he's narcissistic. He knows not to repeat the same mistakes. No more establishment Republicans, no more playing ball. You force them to do your bidding, okay? The cruelty is the purpose. The insanity is the purpose. Ultimately, loyalty above all else. Because if you have people who want to defend institutions or care about the integrity of certain things, and they do not have loyalty above all else, those people, like they did, will become naysayers, okay? And you don't want that. That's the whole point. He doesn't want a leaky faucet like he had last time around, where members of his cabinet and people were constantly fucking chirping to the media and undermining the things that he wanted to do. Okay? That's why the general like appointment board is also significant for him. He wants to eliminate any kind of potential disloyalty. And in many instances, if you want to fuck up the country, yeah, you're going to have people who are still invested in protecting some of these institutions. If you care about the military, you're going to be like, oh, fuck that. I'm not doing that. That's crazy. I'm going to actually go to the media and I'm going to talk about how you're fucking crazy. He doesn't want that. So competence in that situation is most likely playing... competence in that situation is actually going to undermine your chances of becoming appointed. Okay? Because if you're a competent person, if you're a halfway competent person, like even Marco Rubio, as a matter of fact, in my opinion, is on shaky ground, right? On the important stuff, he's still appointing people that are like somewhat seen as like normal figures, like Marco Rubio, right? But even then, he obviously Marco Rubio has demonstrated tremendous loyalty to him. Why are Republicans so surprised? Now Trump has been saying he's going to do this the whole campaign. What? I don't think Republicans are surprised. They're elated. They're excited. They're talking about how sick this shit is. All right, let's hear what the Democrat leadership says about it.
Above. President-elect Trump has also nominated one of your former colleagues, I guess, now that he's resigned, former Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida, to be U.S. Attorney General. I know that there are top Democrats in the Senate, on the Senate Judiciary Committee, calling for the House Ethics Committee to release its findings in its investigation into Matt Gaetz. Take a listen.
And timing of Mr. Gaetz' resignation from the House raises serious questions about the contents of the House Ethics Committee report. We cannot allow this valuable information from a bipartisan investigation to be hidden from the American people.
I am going to demand release of the Ethics Committee report, all of its findings and recommendations.
Do you think the House Ethics Committee should release the report on Gaetz, even though he's no longer a member of Congress, so it's no longer their jurisdiction, I suppose?
Well, the House Ethics Committee has traditionally operated in a bipartisan fashion. You know, I have great amount of trust and respect in the top Democrat on that committee, Representative Susan Wild. Haven't had an opportunity to have a conversation with her.
I don't believe the House Ethics Committee is operating with any sort of integrity. I do, however, think the House Ethics Committee is operating with anger and distrust towards Matt Gaetz. So for that reason, I do think that this report will be released, or at the very least leaked, because they don't like Matt Gaetz. That's the thing. They do not have any sort of like serious integrity. These are politicians. They don't give a fuck about anything, but they do have personal petty vendettas. And a lot of these people hate Matt Gaetz. So I am relying, once again, on the pure resentment, the spite that they feel, and not necessarily their interest in like doing the right thing. Okay.
Director of National Intelligence, Matt Gaetz as Attorney General, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at HHS, Fox News co-host and decorated veteran Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon. Do you expect that they're all going to be confirmed?
Well, I certainly would be surprised if that in fact was the case, based on some of the reaction from some of the moderate Republican senators to several of these selections. But at the end of the day, what's going to be most important is that both the House and the Senate commit to functioning as a separate and co-equal branch of government, and that we elevate the principle of being a check and balance on a potentially out of control executive branch. That is the vision of James Madison and the framers of the Constitution as to what we should be doing in the House and in the Senate. And House Democrats are committed to just solving the problems that the American people want us to solve, which first and foremost relates to lowering costs and making sure that we can help everyday Americans who are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck, get ahead, and not simply get by. And all of this that we're seeing over the last few days seems to me to be a distraction from the mission that all of us should be focused on in the context of.
What is he? Who's he talking to? How are you so much younger than Nancy Pelosi, but you sound exactly like her?
Hardworking American taxpayers.
Democrats failed to win back the House majority. Yesterday in a closed-door meeting with the House caucus, you owned the loss. You told members the buck stops with me. Plenty of Democrats are already out there saying that what really...
These guys are they like stuck? Did they all go into a coma in 2016? Like, is that what happened? Did they just go, do they go into a vat and they're just like permanently isolated from everything that happened in the past 8 years? It's crazy. They're speaking to a reality that does not exist.
The House Republicans,
Wake the
we
fuck
outworked
up.
the House Republicans. We outraised the House Republicans, but we've fallen a few seats short in terms of getting to the 218 that we need to reclaim the majority. And as a leader, it's important to take accountability for that fact and to figure out the path forward in terms of what we need to do better, what we've done right. And
I'm going to tell you this. I talked to senior aides, staffers, okay, in that are working with active politicians in the Democratic Party right now, and the things that I hear from them are alarming. Okay, the things that I hear from them are alarming. They are saying that these guys are completely checked out and don't recognize the issues at hand.
Out of 31 who will return to the United States Congress, who won tough races, notwithstanding an adverse national environment. We're proud of the fact that we held 4 out of the 5 most competitive open seats. No one thought that that was possible, particularly.
Have you seen the purple tie conspiracy? What? That they're all wearing purple ties to be like, we're going to do bipartisanship? Is that why?
Defeated House Democratic incumbents. And so House Democrats are going to be able to evaluate where we are and where we need to go.
Rick Scott?
And I look forward to leading that effort.
Rick Scott backs Lara Trump for Marco Rubio's Senate seat. Okay, at least it's not Laura Loomer. Chat. I can't believe I'm saying this. At least it's not Laura Loomer. Could be worse. You know what I mean?
The gaslighting about President Biden's fitness and acuity, it's not like climate, like actual climate that you actually have no control over. You and Democrats had control over some of this.
But what we've seen all across the world in every single advanced economy is a post-pandemic level of inflation that hit working class people hard. That's the reality of what the United States of America has confronted, what Western European democracies have confronted, and what advanced economies all across the world have confronted. And that related specifically to the shutdown of the economy as a result of a once-in-a-century pandemic. And when demand came roaring back, when the economy was reopened all across the world, the supply chain was lacking. That triggered levels of inflation that were unacceptable. And we've got to do a better job, of course, of working hard to lower food prices, lower gas prices, lower housing prices. And that's something that we're going to lean into. And the American people correctly have said they want that issue addressed decisively. We're going to have to ask the question, are some of these extreme picks that have been presented into the public domain for the future cabinet of the next administration consistent with what the American people have suggested they want to see tackled in the strongest possible way? We will do that as House Democrats. We're hopeful that as we move forward, we'll have an administration willing to partner with us as well.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat of New York. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jake.
CNN's Maniraju is also on Capitol Hill. What he's hearing about the selection of RFK Jr. for the Department of Health and Human Services, plus reaction to other controversial administration picks by President-elect Trump. We're going to squeeze in a quick break. We'll be right back.
Let's get back to this RFK Jr. and the way that Trump's transition co-chair is talking about him.
Most extraordinary thing, because let's face it, we've all heard on the news all sorts of sort of snarky comments about him. And I said, so tell me, how's it going to go? And he said, why don't you just listen to me explain things? And what he explained was when he was born, we had 3 vaccines, and autism was 1 in 10,000. Now a baby's born with 76 vaccines because in 1986, they waived product liability for vaccines. And here's the best one. They started paying the people at the NIH, right? They pay them a piece of the money for the vaccine companies. Wait a minute, let me finish. And so all of these vaccines came out without product liability. So what happened now? Autism is 1 in 34.
Okay,
amazing.
Neither of us are doctors. Vaccines are safe. RFK, I mean,
Why do you think vaccines are safe? There's no product liability anymore. They're not proven.
Kids get them and they're fine.
Why do you think they're fine?
But because they're proven scientifically to be so.
How about this? There was 1 in 10,000 people with autism. We all know so many more people with autism than had it when we were young. Oh, come on.
Okay,
I mean, his point is really interesting.
But
so here's what he
vaccines
said.
don't cause autism,
Okay,
which is what RFK pushes, which is why people are concerned that he could get a job like HHS. And I don't even think he could get...
He's not getting a job for HHS. What he's trying to do, here's what he wants to do. He said, I want data. I just want data because they block the data.
But the data's out there.
Wait, it's not.
They don't block it. You can look at it. It's online.
He wants the data so he can say, these things are unsafe. He says, if you give me the data, all I want is the data, and I'll take on the data and show that it's not safe. And then if you pull the product liability, the companies will yank these vaccines right off of the market. So that's his point. He's not trying to do anything but things that made sense. And look,
this is not where I thought this was going, because
Jared Polis just endorsed RFK. What? There is no fucking way. I'm excited by the news that President-elect will appoint Robert Kennedy. This is a meme, right? No, it's not. It's not a meme. It's a meme that Jared Polis is the governor of Colorado. Before you mock him or disagree, I want to share with you some quotes that if he follows through, show why I'm excited. Level the playing field for Americans internationally on drug costs. Cap drug prices so companies can't charge Americans substantially more than Europeans pay. Yes. Colorado currently has an application just sitting at the FDA for us to import low-cost prescription drugs from Canada, and we just need their approval. In some categories, there are entire departments. Dude, thinking that these guys are going to actually act out these populist desires that are genuinely helpful and not the bad shit is so delusional. I don't know how to begin to explain this to you. It's like thinking Matt Gaetz is going to be a fucking trust buster, dog. Wake up. Okay? Wake up. That's not the point. That's never the point. What are you guys talking about, man? No, they're not going to do any of the good shit. They're only going to do the bad shit. That's the whole point of the bad shit. We got to get off pesticide intensive agriculture. Yes, we have tried unsuccessfully. They better protect people from pollinators from harmful pesticides here in Colorado. And we need all the help we can get, take on big chemical companies and improve human health and the environment. Another instance of perfectly acceptable Islamophobia. Israel supporters tell vulgar anti-Semite Ilhan Omar to go to Gaza, and she responds, "Fuck you." Not sure why she's so offended. It really is where she should be. She would be most useful. Oh God, fucking gross monsters, dude.
Go to Gaza. Go to Gaza, sweetheart. Go to Gaza. Go to Gaza. Go to Gaza, sweetheart. Go to Gaza.
God, these people are fucking such gross pieces of shit, dude. Holy fuck. If we set the bar of expectation super high for this admin and they fail to meet it, do you think that will cause a swing back the other way? Might be what Pose is doing. No, that's not what he's doing. He's a libertarian r/neoliberal moderator, dude. He's just Reddit. He's Mr. Reddit. I'm not going to say what I want to say. Yeah, don't. Oh my God. Nobody is playing fucking 7-dimensional chess. Wake up, chatters. What you see is what you get. Okay? You have to understand. What you see is what you get. Donald Trump is not playing this like long con. Okay? He's very clearly going, I don't give a fuck if these people blow up these regulatory agencies. I actually am putting them there to do that exact same thing. Okay? And we will have a lot of people who are aligned with us that will make a shit ton of money. I don't even want to know who the Department of Education Secretary is going to be. Oh my God. I don't even want to know. It's going to be Marjorie Taylor Greene, dude. It's going to be fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene or like, oh my God, it's going to be MTG. Kid Rock. No, it won't be Lobo. I don't think. I don't know. Laura Loomer for press secretary. Oh. The craziest part about this is that the Nelk boys are fucking Canadian. So if shit blows up, they could just like escape to Canada. You know what I mean? They're going to put Christopher Rufo in charge of the Department of Education. I'm going to die. People are saying, oh, he's going to abolish the Department of Education. Yeah, but before he does it, he's going to put someone in the interim period to implode it from within. Dennis Prager, Libs of TikTok, Chaya Rychik for Department of Education. Oh my Lord, it is so bad.
Well, I spent 2.5 hours.
RFK Jr. is a vaccine skeptic. He pushes lies about vaccines, and I don't even think if Republicans.
Why do you think he pushes lies? Why you said
I don't know why
you
he
said I'm not a scientist and you aren't. So
yeah, but
he just wants.
Yeah, but scientists say that. That's the reason. Scientists are the ones who are saying that. What do you mean? Neither of us are scientists. Yeah, exactly. Which is why I listen to the scientists.
Say he pushes lies.
But here's my scientists who are paid to say he pushes lies. I mean, let's give him the data. I think it'd be pretty cool to give him the data. Let's see what he comes up with.
Okay.
I think it's pretty fun.
He pushed conspiracies about COVID. He had to apologize for tying vaccine questions to what happened in Germany during the Holocaust.
I promise you, I have not looked at all the things he said.
That anyone's looking at for on
he
health.
said Roundup. Remember Roundup?
But you're saying he would not be in charge of HHS?
No, of course not.
Okay, so he's not going to be
he's
like
not going to be the secretary. No.
Well, he couldn't get confirmed, but would he be in an acting position or anything like that?
I just told you what he wants. He wants to help get data.
You're saying he wants
so he
access to data,
things.
but that
he
would
just
be...
wants data, and he wants to prove things are wrong. And he says, if I can't prove they're wrong, that's fine. But if I can save millions of Americans' lives and make their lives better. And I think that's pretty cool.
I'm not sure
so
any
he's
data...
just trying to do it.
I don't...
Jesus Christ. How is he going to prove they are wrong with a super functional brain? Dude, it's over. The brain worm is officially going to control. Dude, that's the craziest part is that the brain worm won, okay? The long con is that the brain worm won. Now it gets to control the HHS. That's crazy. In Nazi Germany, it was meth. I wonder what these guys' like choice of drugs is that's like fucking up their brain. I guess lead poisoning. Be on the lookout for more of that, by the way. RFK is going to come out and be like, lead actually is very good for the brain. Many people are saying that lead poisoning is not even poisoning. It's more lead welcoming. We must be more welcoming of the lead, like I am welcoming of the worm that has taken over my brain. Yeah. Lead strengthening. Everybody knows that immunocomprophallicites, a word I did not just make up at this spot, on the spot at this moment, but a real word from my many years of studying this, are really important to maintain high lead levels in your body. Elon is conducting international diplomacy with Iran has never been more Jover. It is so, yeah, it's. Check out France versus Israel soccer videos. It's happening again, I think. Yeah, that's not shocking to me at all. You are so toxic. He just wants what's best for us worms. I mean, humans. Yeah. Excuse me. I am not the brain worm controlling this human flesh machine. I am a human being. I'm sentient and certainly not a worm. And I think it's great. Ay, ay, ay. One thing to always remember is that none of the good things that they say they're going to do, because good things require you to tackle corporate interests, are going to happen. Okay? They're not. Because these guys are never going to tackle corporate interests. So when they talk about I don't know, like blowing up the FDA because there's too many harmful chemicals in our food, what they're actually advocating for is more deregulation, not more regulation. They will point to Europe and many of our OECD counterparts to talk about what must be done, not realizing that those guys actually at least have some semblance of real governance. Okay? They don't want to do the shit that they have in Europe. They don't want to do that at all. What they'll do instead is probably tackle the harmful chemicals in the water that are turning the children gay, which is, again, lo and behold, more deregulation. Democratic presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has a history of repeatedly sharing unfounded conspiracies that man-made chemicals in the environment could be making children gay or transgender and causing feminization of boys and masculinization of girls. How the fuck does that work? How is it that it's making Is it estrogen or is it testosterone? How is it making the women more manly and the men more feminine? It's magic. All the trans people in the chat are about to be like, damn, I've been missing out. I had DIY HRT in the water supply this whole fucking time. I'm about to go with one of those goddamn straws into a lake and just start sucking. Didn't realize I could get it for fucking free, dude. Experts dispute the claims from Kennedy, an environmental lawyer and anti-vaccine activist, and told CNN's K-File his theories that sexual identification and gender confusion among children could be from their exposure to endocrine disruptors found in the environment are completely unfounded. I just want to pursue just one question on these. You know, the other endocrine disruptors, because our children know now, you know, we're seeing these impacts that people are suspect are very different in ages past about sexual identification among children and sexual confusion, gender confusion. Kennedy said on his podcast in June last year, these kinds of issues are very, very controversial today. Endocrine disruptors are chemicals that interfere with the body's hormones and endocrine system, according to the EPA. Such chemicals are commonly found in pesticides and plastic and can affect reproductive functions and increase risk of obesity. Kennedy on multiple occasions misconstrued endocrine disruptors, studied ability to cause some male frogs to become female and produce viable eggs, suggesting that these chemicals could have similar effects on children and change their sexuality. By the way, when people talk about, you know, they're turning the freaking frogs gay, like that's the one thing that like Alex Jones wasn't wrong on, because it does actually turn the fucking frogs gay. Not even gay, but trans. They're transing the frogs. The difference, however, is that humans and frogs, and this might come as a shock to all the Disney adults in the chat, are different. Okay? Very different. Very different biology. Okay? I know. Sorry, you can't just like kiss a frog and then turn it into a human, or piss off a witch and then they'll turn you into a frog. It doesn't work that way. Oh. Anyway, CNN spoke to multiple experts who said there's no link between endocrine disruptors and children's gender and sexuality. While sex in frogs is determined by environmental factors such as temperature and chemicals, Dr. Andrea Gore, professor of pharmacology and toxicology at University of Texas Austin, said the sex of humans is determined at the moment of conception and cannot later be altered by endocrine disrupting chemicals. The basis claim that chemicals, particularly in tap water, could turn people gay has gained popularity with conspiracy theorists over the years, most memorably with conservative radio Alex Jones, host for Alex Jones, who said chemicals in the water were turning the freaking frogs gay. Mr. Kennedy's remarks are being mischaracterized. He's not claiming that endocrine disruptors are the only or the main cause of gender dysphoria, Kennedy campaign spokesperson said on a statement to CNN. He's merely suggesting that given copious research on the effects of on other vertebrates, this possibility deserves further research. I love whenever they say that, oh, this needs more. I'm simply asking questions. I'm simply implying it under the guise of simply asking questions. And the notion that is false here is that there isn't additional fucking research being conducted into the matter. And yes, of course there is. And yes, PFAS, forever chemicals like plastic, microplastics and shit do actually harm or have long-lasting consequences potentially in humans, okay? It's true. The problem is they're acting like there isn't any fucking research on this matter whatsoever. They're convoluting a bunch of different things. They're tacking them on together, okay? They're slamming them together. And then claiming that it's transing the fucking youth. CNN's K-File reviewed dozens of appearances from Kennedy, both on his podcast and in other media in recent years, where he occasionally discussed the topic. Kennedy's been polling around 19% among Democratic voters in his bid to challenge President Joe Biden for the Democratic nomination. Kennedy made the comments, but this is an older K-File piece that was updated this morning, but it was from July 13th, 2023. Kennedy made comments multiple times between March 2022 and June 2023. If you expose frogs to atrazine, male frogs, it changes their sex, and they can actually bear young. They can lay eggs, fertile eggs, like the eggs that the worm in my brain laid. Kennedy said in the June 2022 episode of his podcast, and so the capacity for these chemicals that are just raining down on our children right now to induce these very profound sexual changes in them is something we need to be thinking about as a society. Atrazine, one of the most common herbicides, is an endocrine disruptor, though Gore said there is no link between these chemicals and gender sexuality in humans. I don't think people should be making statements about the relationship between environmental chemicals and changes in sexuality when there's zero evidence, she said. A study Kennedy discussed on multiple podcast episodes exposed male African clawed frogs to atrazine in a lab, castrating 75% of the male frogs and turning 1 in 10 males into females. On an episode of Jordan Peterson's podcast, a video of which was removed from YouTube, Kennedy said the children are swimming through a soup of toxic chemicals. He further discussed how atrazine can chemically castrate and forcibly feminize frogs, saying, if it's doing that to the frogs, there's a lot of other evidence that it's doing to human beings as well. Kennedy did not offer any proof of similar changes happening in human beings. Dr. Linda Kahn, assistant professor in the Departments of Pediatrics and Population Health at New York University, added that comparing frogs to humans is an apples and oranges thing. It is not appropriate. What does she know? What the fuck does Dr. Linda Kahn, assistant professor in the Departments of Pediatrics and Population Health at New York University, know about the difference between frogs and human beings? Yeah. He's about to be, this man is about to be like, yeah, that's right. We've studied the biodiversity and gender traits of the seahorse, and it seems that if a seahorse is exposed to watching public broadcast, like Arthur on PBS, especially the gay episode, they turn trans as well. It's like, no, that's just a thing that they can do, man. Yeah. People literally wanted eggs to be cheaper, and they're going to get Attorney General Humpert plus the return of polio. Yeah. Good stuff. Wonderful stuff overall. I'm a pharmaceutical regulatory policy specialist. The FDA, industry, and patient orgs have been combing through the implications of RFK. So many people will lose their jobs. So many people will die. It only takes a brief diversion from the regulatory framework for millions to die or fall ill quickly. I have been sobbing daily since election night. No one will listen. Oof. Hassan quoting CNN as gospel while not actually looking at research. Par for the course. I'm not saying it goes this far, but if you think chemicals directly affect health and brain, if you don't think chemicals directly affect health and brain, you are crazy. We do need some studies on this to see how far it goes. Brother, I don't think you have the mental capacity to understand that not only do I agree with that statement, okay, that yes, of course, chemicals directly affect people's health. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm also taking it one step further and telling you that we are consistently studying the harmful impact of chemicals, including but not limited to PFAS. Now, the issue with that, okay, the issue with that is that while on the one hand, the regulatory agencies do play fast and loose and are a part of the revolving door between corporate oligopolies and the regulatory agencies, okay, There are still a lot of publicly funded researchers who are looking into this matter. It's like to claim that no one is looking into it is fucking stupid. You're just simply oblivious to that. This CNN piece is straight up asking the researchers who have looked into it. That's what journalism is. Okay? While CNN might drop the ball on many issues, right? And I talk about it quite frequently. They're doing journalism here. K-File is a great journalist, and he's doing journalism. Okay? This is what you do. The reason why I use the seahorse example is because the way that seahorses are is very different than the way human beings are. Their immune systems are different. Their biology is entirely different. They have the capacity in the wild, in the absence of any sort of female, seahorses can actually turn female, like they can give birth. Can human beings do that? No. Okay. Shut the fuck up. So comparing it to frogs, like comparing human biology to frogs is ridiculous. Like, are there animals out there? You're confusing clownfish and seahorses? I think seahorses can do that as well, and so can clownfish. This is not a criticism, and I hope you don't take it with an open mind. Is there any reason why you don't do the liberal pearl clutching similar to the hummus tier list, but regarding that terrorist or Twitch streamer game and everyone on Twitch who played it and promoted it, why should they not get banned for extreme racism and Islamophobia? Because I live in the fucking real world, and I know that nobody gives a shit about Islamophobia, which was my point originally. Okay? You can jump through a million different hoops to be like, wow, people don't like Sabra hummus and they're using that as a placeholder. It's like saying white people put fucking raisins in potato salad. That is the equivalent, okay? To make it seem like it's actually deeply anti-Semitic. But nobody gives a shit if you're straight up like, yeah, all of these Arab Muslim, content creators who are pro-Palestine are all terrorists, actually. Look at how terroristic they are. Let's put a bunch of their quotes out of context side by side with Osama bin Laden to invoke the feeling in your mind that all of these scary Arab and Muslim sounding names are just like the other scary Arab and Muslims. That's it. Knowing full well that it does not fucking matter. I can't even, there's not really much I can do about that situation. I can't just like magically change people's minds, okay? It is what it is. It is the unfortunate reality of the systems that we live under, okay? I'd go fucking crazy if I tried to like every single day over and over again talk about how much unrestrained Islamophobia is seen as normal and permissible. Seahorses don't turn female. The eggs get sucked out of the female through a tube with sperm on the inside, and fertilized eggs are carried inside the male. Okay, my bad. The problem has metastasized regarding the Houthis. Libs are repeating sectarian pro-Saudi propaganda. They were doing that already. What do you mean? It's just... Dude, I don't know. I don't know what else to say, okay? To be fair, atrazine is harmful and has been shown scientifically to affect sex hormones of frogs, vertebrates, which we also are. Even though there are obvious differences, there are also similarities, and there's not a lot of research on atrazine's effect on humans. I don't think it's a bad idea for more research on this topic. I work in a lab, by the way, and my professor was the leading researcher on atrazine. I I'm not anti-research, chatters. I am pro-research, especially on harmful substances. Okay? And there is currently research being conducted regardless. The worst part about this process is that whenever research on this shit is conducted, okay? Whenever research on this stuff is conducted, oftentimes it takes a while for the regulatory agencies to implement it, or usually if it harms capitalist corporations' underlying profit motives, it never gets implemented at all. That's the problem, and that's what I'm trying to explain to you. The issue I have with RFK is the same thing that people did, and I use as an example when talking to Bradley Martin and other people. They will refuse to look at a metric ton of shit that like Andrew Tate does and point to the one good thing that he says. To be like, oh, what he's just preaching is work out. You know, just work out every day. And it's like, dude, there are a million other people that do that as well. That's not the reason why you're pointing to Andrew Tate. And it's the same shit with RFK Jr. There are a million people who aren't fucking quacks who are anti-medicine, anti-science. That I'm not sick. I just swallowed my spit. Okay, calm down. There are a million people out there, researchers, that aren't fucking anti-medicine or anti-science in general, that aren't weirdo psychopaths, okay, who are invested in this research. Problem is the one guy who says he wants to tackle this issue is anti-medicine. And not only that, but in the sea of like good takes that he has, like we need to be more healthy, we need to eat healthier food, which I agree with, his goals are to basically destroy these regulatory agencies instead of ensuring that there is no corruption in these regulatory agencies. That's the problem. Okay? It's the same neoliberalism we saw with Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan era politics was like, oh, I'm pro-working class. How are we going to do that? Trickling down Reaganomics, okay? We are going to abolish the defense that labor has, the power that labor unions have. We're going to destroy that, and then you're going to, and then the rich are going to get tax cuts. And in that process, you are going to magically feel wealthier down the line. You're going to get wealthy. You're going to get what's yours, okay? Yes, the thing that they point to is not going to be bad. Of course, they're marketing their position. Why the fuck would they say, yeah, I want to blow up the regulatory agencies so your food supply is poisoned, so your water is even more contaminated, okay? They're not going to say that. Why the fuck would they say that? They have to put a nice face on it. CNN's K-File reviewed dozens of appearances from Kennedy, both on his podcast and other media recent years, where he occasionally discussed the topic. Kennedy's been polling around 19%. Kennedy made the comments multiple times between March 2022 and June 2023. If you expose frogs to atrazine, male frogs to saying so the capacity of these chemicals are raining down our children. Oh, wait, we saw all of that already. Kennedy also said in a 2022 episode of his podcast that the Midwest's entire water supply is coated with atrazine, and boys and girls in these areas have delayed puberty. But later, he contradicted himself in March in an episode of his podcast when he said endocrine disruptors are causing early menstrual cycles in girls. Khan said, while general studies on endocrine disruptors have shown effects on puberty, no study has proven if atrazine, the chemical Kennedy often cites, specifically affects puberty in humans. Genuinely curious what changed Polis's posture towards RFK Jr. He said RFK Jr. would bring back measles and bring back polio less than 3 months ago. Not sure how bringing back measles and bringing back polio makes anyone more healthy. I'm excited by the news. The 5 is live.
Okay, Junior, that's a very important position because you don't get school lunches from Health and Human Services.
Right.
That's all done through USDA, has a lot to do with the things that he cares about.
Oh.
So finding out who rounds out that package to me is what I'm waiting for.
Wow. Well, those